So I was inspired to make this mask that you see here after making a bunch of trifold masks and getting some feedback about the quality of the fit and the ear bands. So I saw a picture on Facebook that somebody had put, and it was basically just a piece of paper sitting on a piece of on a quilter's roll. And I used that and a piece of paper with 1-inch squares on it to draw out my own version of the pattern, just based on the arrangement of the quilting squares, the markings on the quilting square in the photo. And then I cut them out and traced them onto a piece of plastic so I could make a bunch of them. So this is the lining and this is the face mask, and you line it up on the fold so you get like a mirror image. And then I cut them down by a 1/2 inch or 1 inch each to make kid-size versions. And at some point in time, I'll put those on the plastic as well. I'm going to put together a series of videos clips that show you how to assemble this mask now, and hopefully you'll get some ideas to improve your own mask making.
What just happened to our railing? What happened to our railing?
Dad, take it off. Be quiet.
Why do I have to be quiet?
Do you see what I'm doing?
We're recording a video and you're making a lot of noise that's not helpful. It's alright, I'll probably put this on with some music and no sound in the background. On fast.
You have iMovie?
Okay, stop it. Okay, friends, first things first, you want to cut out your pieces. This is the piece for the lining. This is the piece for the front of the mask. I cut them along the fold. I have a template. I'll add a clip that shows that process. But when you want to sew the darts, there are 3 of them. There's one at the nose here at the tip. You're going to sew from here to here. And then you're going to open it up like this. And you're going to fold these together and sew from here to here. I've been reinforcing them and going from the folded side out. I don't know that it matters. And I'm using a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance and a straight stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my machine and reposition my camera so you can kind of see. And I'll show you what I'm doing really quick, okay? If you're using a fabric with a right and wrong side, it's going to matter. My fabric is a batik, so it doesn't really matter. But you want right sides facing if you're using a fabric that has an obvious right and wrong side. There's probably a right and wrong side fabric in batik too, but I don't know what I'm doing. So you do that, and then you take the other one, fold it, and stitch. Again, I'm going from the inside folded corner out, and I'm reinforcing this stitch just a little bit with a back stitch and a scant 1/4 inch seam. Like I said, there's 3 of them on each one, so you do 2, and then this one is the last one at the peak, so I'm going to go from here out. And then I'll fold it around and show you what it looks like. So then when you open it up and turn the right side out, it looks like this. And then that's one single piece. I could iron out that crease if I wanted to. The other thing I'm going to do here really quick is on this edge and on this edge, I'm just going to fold over and do a really tiny seam allowance and zigzag it down like a serger. If you have a serger, you could just serge it, I suppose. And I'm just doing that because when I get to attach the straps, there's a little bit of unfinished edge. So I'll do that really quick. And I'm not reinforcing that at all because all of this will get folded under at some point in time. And so if you look there, I just folded it over the tiniest amount. And I went most of the way to I didn't get all the way to the edge. This will get caught up in the seam allowance when we do the lining. But I got most of the way. And I'll do this side too, and then I do both sides like that. And then I'll finish those up, and then we'll get back together with another video clip when I do the lining. Okay, once your mask is kind of set like this, you'll have both sides done like this. You can leave this edge raw. You're going to prepare your lining. It's very similarly shaped, but it doesn't have this extended edge. I'm going to sew the darts just like I did on the other one. Right side's facing again. Okay. And then I'll do that. And then when I'm done with that, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this edge over and just give it a very, very small seam allowance and fold it over because this will be an open edge. And just make sure that they're all the like sides are facing in. And once we do that, I'll show you how to assemble the mask. I'm using like a baby flannel or something for the interior, but based on the feedback from my kids when I'm doing the kids' masks, I'm just using another piece of cotton quilter's fabric. They say they can't breathe, those poor little things, through the thicker fabric. So be mindful of your foot. Turn this back onto a straight stitch. We don't need to do a zigzag here. So, just like that. And then we'll go ahead and fold those together. And I'm doing a little back stitch here to reinforce this one. It's a 1/4 inch, barely a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm not using any matching thread. I'm just using whatever was in my machine. It happens to be a red and black variegated cotton thread. But obviously, you can use whatever you have available. So again, I'm just making sure that all my seam allowances are like so. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to go through now and I'm going to just sew the same looking thing. It's inside out right now, but that's how it'll be. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and when you do this, you're going to finish the edge on the inside that the seams are inside. So I'm going to finish my edge this way. like that. I'm going to do the same thing over here. So now I have both pieces ready to go, and I'm going to flip this inside out for just a second, and I'm going to go with right sides facing, and I'm going to line up my seams. If you want to pin this, you can. I haven't been, but I've been sewing a lot lately, so things are sticking, holding together for me fairly well. But yeah, you could easily pin these in place if you wanted to be real precise about it. So you turn it like this, and you're going to sew all the way around, except for you're not going to sew across here. Okay, don't sew this. Leave both sides open because you're going to need that to flip it inside out. So I'm going to just run a quick stitch, taking a minute to make sure everything is super lined up. You are going to do this section, so you are going to overrun this finished stitch just a little bit. So you're going to have from here to here, this is the bottom side of the mask where your chin will be, okay? These 3 segments that you'll stitch, and then on the top you have 2 segments that you're going to stitch, okay? And I'm trying to leave, you know, not a super generous seam allowance, but about 1/4 inch. And again, these are right sides facing, okay? I just stop the needle periodically to make sure that my fabric is lined up. I'm going to try to line this bottom up really good. Because of the little finished edge that we put on the bottom, or on these edges, these won't line up right here super perfect, but they'll be good enough. So you just want to be careful that that seam allowance picked up both sides of the fabric here where it wasn't lined up really well. And that's okay. I might cut that part off. But then what you're going to do is you're going to stick your fingers in the one side and stick them all the way through to the other side and grab this piece. And presto changeo, it goes inside out. And you'll have right sides facing out the way you planned it. And you'll have this nifty little mask. Now you're going to want to top stitch around here now, just like right around here, real close to the edge, all the way around, just to kind of hold everything in place. If you need to, you can take like a crochet needle or like the end of your seam ripper and just poke out these seams to make sure they're good and tight before you go ahead and sew them. And then before you do the top stitching, right? And then what I do when I do the top stitching is I tuck these in like this, and I top stitch over this one more time here, and that holds these in place. And then you have this nice wide loop, which you're gonna thread the strap through. So I'm going to top stitch it really quick, and I'll come back and show you about making this strap. Okay? Okay, so when you're done top stitching, you have something that looks like this. It goes on like that. It fits nice and snug over your face. And there's these handy strip for doing the strap. So what I do is I cut a nice long strip of fabric that's 1 3/4 inches. I fold it in half like so, and I stitch it, and I turn it inside out, and I use it as a strap. So this is all you need to turn the straps inside out. You just want to make sure you leave enough room for this to go through. And you put the whole thing on there, as much of it as you can. This is a really long one, so I might have to do this one in 2 segments. Okay, just push it on. Let it come off about 1 inch, and you stick it through. And then you just keep working it. You gotta be careful that you give it enough so it doesn't poke the stick all the way through on the inside. So you gotta give like at least 1 inch or so of fabric bent over. But you can kind of slowly work the fabric off the tube as you go. And then when you come out the other side, you pull the dowel through, and then you have a strap. And I'll just show you really quick how I'm using these straps to put on the masks. I take the loose ends, and you can finish those obviously on the machine real quick if you want, and stick them through like this. Okay. Put this over your head like a necklace, and then this works like a drawstring. And you can tie it up over your head like this. Then you get nice tight coverage around your chin, tight coverage under my glasses, over my nose. And the area where I breathe is a solid piece, 2 solid pieces of fabric. So that's the mask I'm making. Feel free.